At a close friend's wedding, someone popped the question about when I'd finally propose. She let out a loud laugh and said, "Him? I'd rather die alone than ever marry that." The whole table roared with laughter that I quietly put my whiskey down on the table and walked out. 2 weeks later, she was crashing on her sister's couch, blowing up a phone I'd already stopped answering. Some truths hit you like a freight train, sudden, brutal, and impossible to pretend you didn't feel. Let me take you back to how it all unfolded. I'm Victor, 47, owner of a commercial construction firm. I started from nothing after 15 years of swinging a hammer for other people. I'm not fancy. Give me worn-in jeans over a tux any day, a quiet cabin over some five-star resort, straight bourbon over anything served in a flute glass. But I've done all right. Own properties in 3 different states, 0 debt, investments that took 25 years of discipline to build. The kind of stability most people only dream about. Rachel and I had been together 2 years. She was 39, a top performer in pharmaceutical sales. Stunning, quick-witted, driven. We met when my crew was gutting and rebuilding the offices of her company's regional headquarters. Sparks flew the first time she walked onto the job site in heels and a blazer, asking intelligent questions instead of just flirting. Things moved fast. 3 months in, her toothbrush was already permanent in my bathroom. 6 months later, she'd given up her lease and moved everything into my house. I don't half-ass commitment. I added her name to bank accounts, handed her a black card, gave her keys to every property I own. If we were building a life, I wanted it to feel real. No barriers, no yours and mine. I even hired an architect and started drawing plans for a custom home on a piece of land I'd bought years earlier. Rachel had expensive taste, and I wanted the house to scream hers the moment she saw it. Her circle was mostly other pharma reps and a few old college friends, people who did SoulCycle at 6 a.m., brunch at places with $22 avocado toast, and vacationed in Tulum. Not exactly my scene, but for her I showed up. I put on the blazer, made small talk at their fundraisers, remembered birthdays, the whole deal. They treated me like the token blue-collar guy, polite, distant, occasionally asking what I actually did, as if building skyscrapers was some quirky hobby. I let it roll off. I wasn't there to win them over. 2 years in, I thought we were solid. We talked about marriage the way couples do. Casual mentions of one day. Nothing set in stone, but the door was open. I'd already started planning the proposal. Had a jeweler I've known for 20 years designing a ring from scratch, built around a vintage setting Rachel once pointed out in an antique store window and said she'd kill to own. Then came Brittany's wedding. Brittany was Rachel's ride or die from college, sorority sisters, former roommates, maid of honor at Rachel's first, disastrous marriage that lasted less than 2 years before the ex ran off with his receptionist. Brittany's big day was over the top. 500 guests, cathedral vows, reception in the ballroom of the city's most exclusive hotel. Open bar flowing like Niagara, 10-piece band, the whole production. I wore the one good suit I own, smiled for photos, danced when I was supposed to. During dinner, we were grouped with 6 or 7 of her friends and their spouses, everyone several cocktails deep. One of the husbands, Chad or Trent, something like that, grinned and asked, "So when are you two locking it down?" Rachel next in line for the ring. Before I could open my mouth, Rachel threw her head back and laughed. This sharp, theatrical laugh I'd never heard from her before. "Him," she said, tipping her champagne flute in my direction like she was toasting a bad joke. "I'd rather stay single for the rest of my life." The table exploded. Someone actually slapped my back like I'd been roasted on Comedy Central. Rachel kept going, riding the wave. "Can you imagine me living on a job site forever, covered in sawdust?" More laughter, louder this time. I didn't say a word. I set my glass down, looked at her for a long second, then stood up and walked out of the ballroom, out of the hotel, out of the relationship. I heard her calling my name behind me, voice shifting from playful to confused to panicked, but I never turned around. Grabbed an Uber in the lobby, shut my phone off, and drove straight to my cabin 3 hours north. The one Rachel always complained was too basic and refused to stay at longer than 24 hours. Sat on the porch all night with a bottle of Makers, staring at the sky, feeling an eerie kind of peace. By sunrise, I knew exactly what had to happen. I drove back to the city while she was at work, spent the day on the phone with my attorney, my CPA, and the banks. Not revenge, clarity. When someone tells you who they are in front of an audience, believe them. I packed only what mattered. Clothes, files, a few family things. Everything else, furniture, dishes, TVs, could be replaced. Time wasted on the wrong person that you don't get back. I did one last walkthrough. In the office, I gathered the rolled blueprints of the dream house, the marble samples, the paint decks she'd spent hours choosing. In the bedroom, I pulled the little blue box from its hiding spot, the finished ring I was going to use to propose on her birthday next month. On the kitchen island, I left a single house key and a printed letter. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. Utilities will remain active during that period. The credit card is canceled effective immediately. All your personal items will remain undisturbed. Any future contact goes through my attorney, contact info attached. No anger, no drama, just facts. Then I locked the door behind me for the last time, checked into a suite downtown, turned the phone back on. 41 missed calls, 68 texts, voicemails climbing in hysteria. It was a joke. You're embarrassing me. Come home, we'll talk. I blocked the number. Next day, I buried myself in work. That evening, she showed up at my office, mascara tracks down her cheeks, demanding to know why I was doing this to her. I told her calmly, "You said you'd rather be alone forever than married to me. I'm granting your wish." She screamed that it was wedding humor, that I was too sensitive, too proud, too dramatic. When that didn't work, she tried tears, lunging for my hand. I stepped back. "You don't want me, Rachel. You want the lifestyle. There's a difference." She stormed out, swearing it wasn't over. It only got worse from there. Friends called. Her sister ambushed me in the lobby. Her mother left a voicemail about how girls sometimes say silly things when they've had champagne. I stayed polite but immovable. Day 10, the mask slipped completely. She discovered the card was dead. The accounts were locked. The formal eviction notice had arrived from my lawyer. The texts turned venomous. I was cruel, controlling, having a midlife crisis. Day 12, her sister called from a new number. "Victor, she's falling apart. She's sleeping on my couch, hasn't eaten in days. Can you at least talk to her?" I heard everything I needed to hear. I said, "She's not mourning me. She's mourning the mortgage-free house and the unlimited credit line. That's harsh. She humiliated me in front of 50 people to get a laugh. Harsh was earned." 2 weeks after the wedding, my property manager called. Rachel had shown up with a U-Haul trying to take furniture, art, even the outdoor grill. He blocked the door. Neighbors called the cops. Full meltdown on the front lawn, caught on Ring camera. I watched the footage once. She looked unrecognizable, screaming, crying, threatening to sue everyone in sight. The officers explained trespass laws. She left empty-handed. Her lawyer tried the "we were basically common law" route. I forwarded the email thread from last year where I offered to add her to the deed, and she replied she didn't want the hassle of owning anything. Case dropped in 72 hours. That it's been 5 months now. The new house is rising exactly the way I want it. No more cream-colored marble she insisted on because gray is depressing. Rachel moved into a one-bedroom that costs more than her old mortgage ever would have. Word is she lost her job. Couldn't hit quota. Kept missing flights. Generally unraveling. Her friends circle the wagons, telling anyone who'll listen that I'm a fragile ego who can't take a joke. Fine. Let them have their story. The ring is in the safe. One day I'll have the stone reset for someone who actually wants it. Last month, 3 of the women who laughed hardest that night hired my company for 6-figure renovations. Money spends the same regardless of who writes the check. I've started seeing someone new. A landscape architect I met on a bid last spring. First date, we talked about soil composition and rebar schedules, and she never once looked bored. Feels foreign. Feels good. Rachel's sister ran into me recently and admitted, that wasn't the first time she talked about you like that. She did it all the time when you weren't around. I nodded. I know. And now I'm not around anymore. Some people call the way I ended it cold. I call it the moment I finally started respecting myself. When someone shows you in front of an entire wedding reception that you're the punchline, believe them. Put the drink down. Walk away. And don't look back.